stop scrolling. I'm about to reveal why people born in the 1970s have a psychological advantage that scientists say can never be replicated. And no, this isn't nostalgia, this is neuroscience. Recent studies show that if you grew up in the 70s, your brain developed in a way that's fundamentally different from every generation that came after. You possess 5 rare psychological traits that modern society is desperately trying to recreate and failing. By the end of this video, you'll understand why 70s kids look at today's world and quietly smile. They know something we don't, something that shaped their minds in ways that made them almost superhumanly resilient. Let's dive deep into the psychology and see what made this generation so special. Remember this phrase, "Go find something to do, or I'll find something for you to do." Every 70s kid felt their stomach drop when they heard those words, because finding something for you meant chores, folding laundry, washing dishes, sweeping the garage. So you learned the most valuable skill of your life: figure it out yourself. Here's where the science gets interesting. A landmark study from Stanford University on unstructured childhood found that children who had to create their own entertainment developed 40% stronger executive function compared to structured, scheduled kids. What does that mean in real terms? Your brain became a creativity machine. With 0 tablets, no YouTube, no streaming services, you had to generate entertainment from thin air. You spent hours building forts, creating imaginary worlds, reading every book in the house, exploring neighborhoods on your bike. But here's the key insight most people miss. You weren't just playing, you were learning to generate purpose from emptiness. Modern psychology calls this intrinsic motivation development. Your brain learned to find meaning without external rewards, without likes, without validation. You became self-sufficient at a neurological level. This is why so many 70s adults can walk into any situation and just handle it. Your childhood was basically a PhD program in resourcefulness. And if you think that's impressive, wait until you hear what all those scraped knees and broken bones actually did to your brain. Let's be honest about your childhood. It was dangerous. You climbed trees that were way too high. You rode bikes down hills without helmets, sometimes without brakes. You had BB gun wars. You jumped off roofs into pools. You set off fireworks in ways that would horrify modern parents. And here's the shocking part. This made you mentally healthier. Research from the University of British Columbia studied childhood risk exposure and found something remarkable. Children who experienced physical risks in play developed better threat assessment skills, lower baseline anxiety as adults, enhanced decision-making under pressure, and improved emotional regulation. Your nervous system learned something crucial: the difference between actual danger and manageable risk. Every time you fell, got back up and kept playing, your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, was being trained, not to ignore danger, but to assess it accurately. Modern kids are wrapped in bubble wrap, both literally and psychologically. Their brains never learn to calibrate risk properly, so a social media comment feels like a genuine threat. A mistake at work triggers full panic mode. But you broke your arm falling out of a tree and wore that cast like a badge of honor. You learned that pain is temporary, scars are stories, and most disasters are actually just Tuesday. This explains why you can walk into chaos, a crisis at work, a family emergency, a technical breakdown, and everyone else is losing their minds while you're calmly asking, "Okay, what actually needs to happen first?" That's not personality, that's neurology. Here's a disturbing modern study. Researchers at the University of Virginia asked people to sit alone with their thoughts for just 15 minutes. No phone, no distractions, nothing. 67% of men and 25% of women chose to give themselves mild electric shocks rather than sit quietly.
If you're from the 70s, you probably find that insane because you spent your entire childhood comfortable in your own head. You laid on your bedroom floor listening to entire albums from start to finish. You spent hours on your bike going nowhere in particular, just thinking. You stared at clouds. You laid in the grass talking to one friend for 3 hours. Not because you were bored, because there was no screen hijacking your attention every 3 seconds. Modern neuroscience has a term for what you developed: default mode network strength. The default mode network is the part of your brain that activates when you're not focused on external tasks. It's where self-reflection happens, memories consolidate, creativity emerges, and identity forms. Studies show that pre-digital generations have significantly stronger DMN activity. Your brain learned to process experiences, develop deep thoughts, and build a solid sense of self. Modern brains, constantly interrupted by notifications, never fully develop this capacity. They're stuck in reactive mode, jumping from stimulus to stimulus, never diving deep. This is why you can take long drives without podcasts, why you can sit on a porch and just be, why silence doesn't make you uncomfortable. Your relationship with yourself was forged in hours of uninterrupted solitude, and that foundation is unshakable. Your favorite TV show came on once a week. Miss it? Wait another week. You took photos with actual film and waited days, sometimes weeks, to see if they turned out. You wanted to talk to your friend? You memorized their phone number, called their landline, hoped they were home, and if not, you just dealt with it. Modern psychology has extensively studied delayed gratification, and the findings are clear. People who grew up waiting for things show 35% better impulse control, higher career achievement, better relationship satisfaction, and lower rates of addiction. Your entire childhood was a training program in patience that modern life actively destroys. Every time you waited for something, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for self-control, was strengthening. You were literally building the neural pathways that separate successful people from impulsive ones. This is why instant gratification doesn't satisfy you. Deep down, you know the best things are worth waiting for. When you finally got that album you saved allowance for, you treasured it. You listened to every song, read every lyric, studied the artwork. That level of engagement is almost extinct now. The modern brain wants instant, easy, fast. Your brain learned to savor, anticipate, and value. This is the trait that defines everything else. At 8 years old, you left the house in the morning with one rule: be back when the street lights come on. Your parents didn't know where you were. No GPS tracking, no cell phone. You could be at the creek, in the woods, 3 neighborhoods over, anywhere. A study from the University of Cambridge compared childhood independence across generations and found something striking. Children with freedom of movement and unsupervised play developed stronger internal locus of control, better decision-making skills, enhanced spatial reasoning, and greater self-confidence. You had to assess situations yourself. Is this tree safe to climb? Should I cross this creek? Can I make it home before dark? Every decision trained your judgment. Every consequence taught you accountability. Your parents weren't your friends. They were authority figures who trusted you to be competent. That trust built competence. This is why you can plan complex projects, adapt to changing circumstances, and think critically without someone holding your hand. Modern parents helicopter over every moment. Modern kids never develop the neural pathways for true independence. At 25, they're still asking permission to make basic life choices. But you were navigating the world solo before you hit puberty. Here's what all of this means. Every time you feel out of place in today's world, remember, you're not outdated. You're carrying forward capabilities that are going extinct. The independence that looks like coldness, that's competence. The comfort with silence that looks antisocial, that's depth. The ability to wait that looks like apathy, that's discipline. You survived a childhood that would get parents arrested today. And it didn't damage you, it forged you. For one brief, magical moment in human history, childhood was both completely free and genuinely formative. You got to be civilized and feral at the same time. That combination created a generation with psychological resilience, emotional intelligence, and practical capabilities that modern society desperately needs and can't recreate. So to every 70s kid watching, you're not living in the past. You're carrying forward something that the future will wish it hadn't lost. And that's not just nostalgia. That's documented psychology.
If you grew up in the 70s, drop a comment and tell us which trait resonated most with you. And if you want more psychology-backed content that helps you understand yourself better, subscribe. We're just getting started.